Well, when I asked you about this before, you never told me that she said that they asked her to write letters.
Don't answer his argumentative question.
Is that something that you just thought of now?
Don't answer that question.
Well,
That's argumentative, and it's your saying what he testified to earlier.
Are you now saying that Nicole told you the lawyers had her write letters?
She said to me they had her write a bunch of stuff, you know, and she was filling out various things, writing up these, her words, letters. She didn't say anything other than notes, other than letters. I assumed they were all letters, but they weren't when I saw them in jail.
What were the other ones that were not letters?
This whole list that when she says, these are the things I remember, and she wrote all of these things that you guys start saying was a diary.
Okay. Now, this document, did somebody tell you that this is what Nicole's lawyers had her write up, Exhibit 86? Excuse me, Exhibit 87?
No, but I just saw it in the packet that I got of all of those allegations. This was a part of it, so I assumed this was all a part of it.
When you were given that packet, were you told this is a packet of materials that Nicole made up?
No, I was given a lot of discovery one day, and I sat in my cell and read it.
And you saw a bunch of documents which appeared to be allegations by Nicole against you, right?
Well, this was all in one packet, yes.
And it was those documents that you thought at that time were the documents that she made up, right?
Well, I knew they were the documents she made up because they said they were hers, and I knew it was made up stuff.
And how'd you know they were hers?
Because it was purported to be hers. It was
Who purported it to be hers?
whoever delivered it to me, and whatever it was purported to be her things with her lawyers.
Who told you they were
I can't recall
hers?
if they were signed by her or not, but the handwriting was much like this handwriting, and it was purported that these were allegations that she was making to her lawyers.
Do you know where these documents came from when they were given to you?
Discovery.
Discovery from whom?
From the prosecution.
No, where did the prosecutors get it?
I have no idea.
Did you ever ask?
No.
In other words, you think they were found in Nicole's home or personal possessions or a lawyer's office?
It's irrelevant where he thinks they were found. He told you he doesn't know. Don't answer that.
Where's my paper? Let me show you the next exhibit in order, which will be, what are we? 88. 88? Here you go, David. You ever seen Exhibit 88 before?
I believe so, yes.
Just a minute or two ago, you were referring to a document where various incidents were listed. Is this the one you had in mind?
Yes.
I believe I've already asked you about each of these claims of abuse, and you have said none of them occurred. Is that right?
Correct.
Who is Bruce?
I believe her divorce lawyer.
Nicole, you recognize the note to Bruce to be in Nicole's handwriting?
It could be. I can't say that I totally right now recognize Nicole's handwriting, but I'm assuming it is.
Do you have any reason to believe this note is not in her handwriting?
Not really, no.
Now, she writes here in the middle, there were plenty of small times where he'd just push me or grab me hard enough to bruise my arms, but they happened so often that I can't remember specifics. Is that true that that occurred?
No.
And did you ever push her or grab her hard enough to bruise her arms?
No.
Okay. I'll go to the second page where it talks about Pips on Rodeo.
Mhm.
Is that the place where where Nicole slapped you?
No, this is the place was still on Robertson.
When did you get a wine closet put into your Rockingham residence?
19. I mean, what's there now? I got in 1990, maybe 89 or 90.
And before then, did you have a little area where you would store wine?
Yes.
What did you call that?
I don't know.
Wine closet?
It could be called that, but I never called it a wine.
And how long was that closet there?
Since I had Rockingham.
And you don't recall any incident where you put Nicole in that closet, do you?
Never.
Could you go to the page entitled "The Vacations" in here?
What page is that?
I think it's the next to last page.
Okay.
Bless you.
The first one says Italy, and then it has next to that Venice, Rome, Florence, England, Germany. You see that?
Yes.
Did you go on a vacation like that with Nicole
Yes.
for her 21st birthday?
I don't know if it was for a birthday. I doubt it was for a birthday because we were there for Oktoberfest, the earlier part of Oktoberfest, so it was late September, so
What year?
I don't know.
Early on in your relationship?
Relatively, in terms of 17 years, yes, but it couldn't have been her birthday because it was Oktoberfest.
The next line says Aspen. Can't read the next word.
Many times,
Many times.
yeah.
Is that true that you and she went there many times?
Yes,
It says 1986 Vail many times.
yes,
Is that true also?
yes,
1988 Hawaii many times. Is that true?
yes.
Cabo San Lucas. Is that true?
Yes,
1988 was Hawaii and Cabo. In 1989 it says Acapulco twice, birthday. Is that true? Did you go there then?
in 1989,
Yeah.
I don't think we went twice, but I went there for took her there for her birthday, yes.
Did you go to Puerto Vallarta,
No.
Las Hadas?
Las Hadas we went to on our honeymoon.
Oh, it says
Puerto Vallarta.
honeymoon in 1985.
Oh, you're telling me to read what she says here.
Is that where you went?
Yes, this is one of the places we went to. I don't ever recall going to Puerto Vallarta with Nicole, but I might have. We might have.
Just so I'm clear, your honeymoon was in Las Hadas in 1985?
Yes.
Did you attend a wedding for Michael Militello at the Ritz-Carlton with Nicole?
Yes.
That's on the last page.
Yes.
But there was no incident of abuse there?
None at all.
Who are Eric and Val Von Watts?
Our neighbors, was our neighbors.
Now, there it says that you and they listened to music on Wilshire. What's this Wilshire place? Do you know anything about that?
No. It just seemed to me that we once went to hear a band, some friend of Watts's once on Wilshire. I mean, it's a while ago, but it just seemed to me that we may have.
Did you ever take Nicole to a hospital on Wilshire Boulevard?
No. Is there a hospital on Wilshire?
I don't know. Is there?
Yeah, there is.
Where?
My two kids were born, the early kids were born at Good Samaritan Hospital downtown LA.
On Wilshire?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it goes all the way
It is
through.
on Wilshire.
Yeah, it goes all the way through.
Yeah.
Okay, let me show you another document, Mr. Simpson. Mark this as Exhibit 89. You ever see this document before?
No, I don't recall.
Did you see it in jail?
I might have.
Does this document appear to you to be in Nicole's handwriting?
Yeah, it looks like the same handwriting as his other.
What did Nicole call you?
OJ.
This is a letter addressed to you, and it says in part here, I'd like you to keep this letter if we split so that you'll always know why we split. I'd also like you to keep it if we stay together as a reminder. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever get this letter from her?
No.
Can you tell by that statement when this was written?
No.
And after the January 1989 incident, was there a time when you and she were contemplating splitting?
No.
You never even discussed it?
Till she told me she wanted to split, it never came up.
Did Nicole ever tell you that she saw your marriage as a huge mistake?
No.
Prior to your marriage, but while you were living with her, were you frequently seeing other women?
No.
Was that a subject of contention between Nicole and you?
You've gone into that, don't answer. You've gone into that.
This
detail.
letter indicates that it was, and I'm perhaps hoping this might jog your recollection. Does it?
Well, I don't know. I haven't read the letter, but I mean, obviously, when there were phone numbers, she would make comments.
Just about phone numbers.
Yeah.
She says she took the blame many times for your cheating. You know what that refers to?
No.
She writes in the second paragraph, I remember a long time ago a girlfriend of yours wrote you a letter. She said, well, you aren't married yet, so let's get together. Do you know who, did you ever receive such a letter?
I didn't, but she did.
Nicole did.
Yes.
From whom?
I don't know. I was at USC, and some girl put a letter on my windshield wiper, and evidently I never noticed it driving home, and Nicole took it off the windshield wiper.
And she talked to you about it?
Yes.
What did it say?
I don't recall. I never saw the letter. She never gave me the letter.
Something about your getting together with her?
It could have been.
Okay. The third page of this letter, I'm not going to read it. It's too long, and there's a lot of profanity in here. But generally, the third page, third paragraph talks about your giving her, bad treatment, looks of disgust because she was heavy from her pregnancy with Sydney. That's not true?
No.
Did you ever complain to Nicole, let's say before 1990, that her living habits bothered you? She was sloppy and messy.
Living habits?
Yeah, that she'd leave things around, she was not neat, leave her shoes on the floor, things like that.
I think it was sort of a running thing with us. Yes.
And you were more neat and orderly?
Yes.
Now, at the next page of this, it says 2764 at the top. It says, there was also that time before Justin and after Sydney. I felt good about how I got back into shape. You beat the holy hell out of me. And we lied at the X-ray lab and said I fell off a bike. Remember? Now, do you see that?
Yes.
Do you recall such an incident?
No.
You ever beat
It
that?
never happened.
It never happened?
Never happened.
Now, in the next paragraph, Nicole writes about the televised Clipper game and going to Stellini's before the game and your 40th birthday party in the week leading up to it. Do you recall those events?
I don't recall. I recall my 40th birthday party, but the events around it I don't remember. And we always went to Stellini's, so.
Do you know? Was there some episode or incident at a televised Clipper game that comes to mind?
No.
Okay. And top of the next page says, since Justin's birth is the New Year's Eve beat up, but you deny beating her up, right?
Is
Say
this
this
something?
again?
Excuse me?
There's a
I'm
word
lost.
after the
Where, Mr. Baker?
What are we talking about?
2763.
Mad New Year's Eve? Oh, is that what it is? The Mad New Year's Eve?
Oh, you're right. And since Justin's birth is the Mad New Year's Eve beat up. You see that?
I see it, yes.
But that didn't occur, right?
We had a fight on New Year's, as I told you.
But you didn't beat her up.
No.
Okay.
But the bruises and stuff she received, I feel totally responsible for.
On the next to last page, Nicole writes, I called the cops to save my life, whether you believe it or not. But I didn't pursue anything after that. I didn't prosecute, I didn't call the press, and didn't make a big charade out of it. I waited for it to die down and asked for it to. Is that true?
What portion of it?
The whole thing?
Well, it couldn't be true because we had stopped fighting. She called the cops after the fight was over. So that can't be true.
It's
The
not true
rest
that
of
she
it's her
called the
fault.
cops to save her life. That's what you're saying.
That's
right?
what I'm saying, yes.
The rest of that's true, though, right?
What is the rest of it? I don't.
The next sentence, I didn't pursue anything after that. I didn't prosecute. I didn't call the press and didn't make a big charade out of it. I waited for it to die down and asked for it to.
Yes.
Tape change, is that what you said? Okay, go ahead.
Ooh, I gotta take.
This is the end of tape number 2 of volume 6. The time is approximately 3:50, and we are off the record.
After Nicole and you were married and had children, did she go out less frequently?
Yes, we went out less frequently.
Did you and she used to argue over her backing out of functions at the last minute?
Yes.
So look at the last page of this. In the paragraph in the middle, it says, I agree that after we married things changed. We couldn't have house full of people like I used to have over and barbecue for because I had other responsibilities. I didn't want to go to a lot of events and I'd back down at the last minute on functions and trips. I admit I am sorry. Is it true that those things occurred?
Yes.
Let me mark the next 3 exhibits. What are they?
90 through
90, 91, and 92. These are 3 letters from you, Mr. Simpson. I think you've seen these in court already. First one is a 2-page document. Mark that as Exhibit 90. Okay. Second one's 3-page, that'll be 91. Mike. And the third one,
To
7-page document, that'll be 92. Here you go, Mike. You've seen these 3 exhibits before, 90, 91, 92.
Can I read them?
Oh, sure. What I want you to do is put them in
Sure.
proper chronological order for me.
Good to know.
Mike, you didn't care to be joined in that phone call at 9 tomorrow? Okay.
Off the record real quick.
Do you have
We are
Caitlin?
going off the record.
I'm sorry.
Would work, well, okay.
Do you have Caitlin's second day ready?
She'll probably be at your office.
I think it was delivered today.
Sorry.
It went out this morning. It went to your office.
Back on.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Back off.
Yeah,
You wrote all three of these?
yes,
They're all in your own handwriting, right?
yes.
When did you write these? Start with,
I really can't say. It seems as if this one with the 92 would have been the first one. It just seems.
okay.
And it seems that 90 would have been the last one, but it was
Okay.
all in. One of them I wrote while we were, well, actually while we were having dinner. I don't know which one though.
At Rockingham?
Yes,
Do you know the dates of these, when you wrote these letters?
I would say they were all written within the month. You know, all pretty much written within the 2 weeks to a, you know, within that first month.
January 1989?
Yes,
Did you give all three of these to Nicole?
yes.
Exhibit 90 is written on Cartier's stationery. Do you see that? Do you know where you got that from?
No,
Were you in New York during this time?
no,
You didn't have a football job in January of 1989, is
No.
that right? Why didn't ABC renew your contract, do you know?
I mean, back in '86,
Yeah.
I know they were going with a whole new look on Monday Night Football, other than Gifford.
Were you having a drinking problem in December 1988, January 1989?
No,
In one of these letters, I think it's Exhibit 92, says that you agreed to go to Alcoholics Anonymous.
yes,
Why?
because we had been drinking and the night got physical, and I didn't think there was an excuse for that. I didn't want to use alcohol whatever, the way I reacted as an excuse.
So you didn't have any drinking problem, but you went to AA anyway?
No, Nicole told me, you don't have to go to AA. You're not a drunk, and I didn't.
Were you drunk that night?
Well, I think we both were drinking, so we had drank pretty good that night.
Were you drunk?
I was able to drive home, but I think we had drank pretty good that night, yes.
Were you legally drunk?
Did you take a blood alcohol test
No.
of yourself?
Had you taken one, would you have passed or failed?
Don't ask her that. That's a great question.
You're not going to let him answer?
No, I think it calls for pure speculation.
In all three of these letters, basically you're expressing regret for the incident?
Yes.
And again, you seem to have some very strong words of regret here about your conduct being unacceptable and so forth.
The way I reacted, I thought I reacted unlike I had ever reacted before.
But all you did was restrain her and try to get her out of the room, right?
I physically removed her from a room. And I'd never really done that before.
In Exhibit 91, you talk about a conversation with the detective.
Yes.
Is that Edwards?
No,
Who is that?
Farrell.
You also say you're not trying to buy her out, buy Nicole out, in Exhibit 91. What did you mean by that?
I think it was during that period of time that I had discussed with her, or I had sent her or discussed with her this letter about the prenuptial agreement.
Whose idea was that?
Mine.
Okay. Did Nicole respond to these letters?
She wrote me 2 letters, I believe.
Do you have them?
No.
Have you seen them since you went to jail?
No.
What did her letter say, if you can remember?
How she was disappointed in how the night went, and how she had been trying so hard, and she apologized also. And tone-wise, almost what I wrote to her.
Okay. The next document I'm going to mark is, what's the next one? 93? There's an agreement.
Which one is it?
93.
We got to get better copies.
Is this the agreement that you offered Nicole?
I believe so.
Whose handwriting is this agreement?
I don't know. Looks like it maybe Skip Taft.
You authorized Taft to write this on your behalf?
Yes.
Let me, was it your idea or Taft's idea, by the way?
Mine.
And did you discuss it with Nicole before you offered it to her?
I think so.
And what did she say?
I didn't think it mattered to her one way or the other, but this letter was more for me than it was for her.
Okay, and do you know when she signed this document?
A lot later.
Do you know why?
I have no idea.
I'll mark as the next exhibit better copy of this document. What are we up to,
94.
94 plus an attachment to it. Here, David, that's mine. Take a look at Exhibit 94, Mr. Simpson. And the second page is a letter from Nicole to Skip. who I take to be Skip Taft, stating, "It has taken me till now to sign this agreement. Until recently I didn't even think we'd ever reconcile. Things look good, in fact better than they've looked in a long time. Please send a copy to Bruce Clemens and to me, thanks, Nicole." And then the last page is an August 8, 1989 letter from Taft to Clemens, transmitting Nicole's signed document. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, between January of 89 and August of 1989, when Nicole signed the document, were you separated from her?
No.
Except for the times that we've already discussed, the 3 days.
Three-day period.
Right.
Yes.
Were you having difficulties working through the incident that occurred on the on New Year's Eve?
I think we've gone through this in some detail.
What I'm focusing on here, obviously, is a statement by Nicole that she didn't think we'd ever reconcile, and she underlines the word ever. And I'm wondering whether this causes you now to remember
What?
anything more than what you've already told me about this.
No, we never separated. We lived together. We took trips together that spring.
But as far as you were concerned, the incident was behind you within a couple of days after it occurred, right?
As far as I was concerned, the incident would never be behind us. But we went on with our lives a couple of days after. We ended up back together. We took some trips together, and we continued on with our lives. But I was going to therapy, and we were going to therapy together. So the incident was still very much alive in our consciousness.
Did you ever talk to Nicole about why she hadn't signed the agreement?
No,
And why it was taking her time to sign it?
no, it was up to her.
Did you and she ever have discussions about her personal safety?
No.
And you're assuring her personal safety?
Other than this,
You mean assuring his personal safety vis-a-vis OJ?
Yes.
no.
That came up with Dr. Catane, did it not?
You'd have to ask Dr. Kate.
You trying to out-slouch Candyman?
Oh, no.
Next
there's
is
another.
Exhibit 95.
He's got his shoes on. No look intended.
There you go. Exhibit 95 is the nolo contendere plea to the misdemeanor of spousal abuse plus some related documents. That was a very timely comment. You've already testified that you... Oh, sorry. Even though Nicole didn't press charges, the prosecutors brought a complaint against you, is that right?
Yes.
And you pled nolo contendere to the charge of spousal abuse, correct?
Yes.
And you received what as a penalty?
Basically, community service time.
How many hours?
I don't know.
Did you perform them?
Yes,
And you also went to see Burton Catay,
that's correct.
okay, and Nicole came with you?
Maybe once or twice she was a part of it, but yes,
Okay.
not always.
Now, in Mr. Catay's letter here, which is a part of this attachment, letter to Howard Weitzman dated April 3, 1989. Weitzman was your lawyer in connection with this spousal abuse proceeding, right? Is that right?
Pardon me?
Weitzman was your
Yes.
lawyer. Catay writes that you have expressed statements to him assuring the safety of Nicole.
Pardon me?
Do you see that on the second page there?
Second page of...
Catay's
Burton
letter?
Catay's letter.
Yes.
Okay, and then in this next page, Mr. Simpson, numbers 6 and 7 at the bottom, says you have promised your wife safety. See that?
Yes.
Now, did you and Nicole have discussions about this?
No.
About her safety?
No.
was never an issue?
No, that's what this letter was about.
Excuse me?
That's what this letter was about.
You're referring to the agreement?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
That's what the letter was about.
How does the letter it provides a financial disincentive to you to hit her in the future, is that right?
Yes.
And that's how you assured her safety, right?
Well, that's
And then you mean
what I
in
gave to her.
conjunction with
Yeah.
this going to therapy and the other things that he's testified to?
yes.
Did you tell Dr. Kate anything different than what you've testified to in this deposition about what happened that evening?
I don't know if I can talk about what Dr. Katay and I talked about.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to discuss anything with Dr. Katay and you talked about other than what's set forth in the letter.
Well, it pretty much covers everything, Mr. Baker.
I don't agree with you. He doesn't describe the incident at all, unless I missed it,
Well,
Mr.
it's all about
Petrocell.
the incident, though.
He doesn't describe the incident, and he doesn't have to. Your question went to that incident,
Yeah,
I thought.
I want to know what exactly you told the doctor about what happened that
And,
night.
and I instruct him not to answer that question based upon the psychotherapist-patient privilege.
Dr. Kate writes that you intend to remain in therapy for an extended period of time. Did you?
Yes.
How long were you in therapy, all told?
Well, I don't think I ever stopped. I just would call him from time to time as pertaining to when I felt that I needed another perspective, as I stated in the video.
How many times did you consult him with respect to spousal abuse issues?
I think once we,
No, you can ask the number. You can tell the number of times.
Yeah.
I think once we went beyond once it was beyond the court, whatever the court thing was, I continued to see him, and at that point it wasn't about spousal abuse. It was just from time to time when I needed another perspective on whatever was happening.
You know how many sessions you had pursuant to the court's order?
No.
Okay. I'd like to show you this other document here called Anti-Nuptial Agreement.
'96, right?
96. 96.
I've got 95 as last. Yeah, 96. Thank you, Dave.
96. This is the prenuptial agreement or the anti-nuptial agreement that you and Nicole entered into prior to marriage.
I believe so.
And is this the anti-nuptial agreement that Nicole was trying to invalidate by inventing claims of spousal abuse?
I believe so.
Do you have any basis withdrawn? Do you know how she was going to attempt to invalidate this agreement by inventing claims of abuse?
It had something to do with this letter, and retroactively, I don't know. It was a aborted attempt that never really got much breath.
But the letter that you gave her said that if you ever hit her after the date of that letter, then the prenuptial agreement would be torn up, right? And the prenuptial agreement was Exhibit 96, correct?
Correct.
So all she had to do was invent one episode after the date of the February 1989 agreement, correct?
Well, she would have to
you're
prove it.
asking
Right.
him to.
She would have had to prove it.
She would have to prove it, exactly. Do you know why she made up a number of incidents that are dated long before February of 1989?
We've been through this, and that calls for speculation, and don't answer
Do
that.
you have an understanding as to why pre-February 1989 incidents were invented
No, you're not
in
going
the
to answer.
course of these divorce proceedings?
You're not going to answer that. You've gone through that, and you're asking him to speculate.
I'm not asking
And
this.
his opinion is irrelevant to any
But what
issue.
if somebody told him?
What? You want
other words,
more?
what if
You want more hearsay? You didn't get enough at Faye Resnick, Stepo?
Faye has a lot of direct admissions, Mr. Simpson.
We'll see.
You're not going to let him answer?
No.
The next document is Exhibit 97. there's two there. You ever seen this document before?
I don't recall.
You know what it is?
No.
You know whether Nicole was keeping a diary at any time during your marriage?
I don't believe so.
Is this one of the documents you saw in jail?
Now that I see these dreams, I'm pretty sure I did.
Excuse me?
Now that I see this little thing with dreams here, I think I did.
That would have been the first time you saw this?
Yes.
You go to the third page of this. Or the fourth page, actually. On the side it says 3139. And in
What does it say?
3139, right over here.
You got it right here.
Yeah. On the left side there, Mr. Simpson, it says, middle of the page, Saturday was worse. OJ picked us up in Cabo. Sunday was a blow-up. Underneath that, painful, painful week. Do you see that?
Saturday was worse. OJ picked us up.
In Cabo.
I don't know what this would be referring to.
You have no recollection of that event?
What do you mean by picking them up in Cabo? Is this when they came down, when Nicole followed us down to Cabo?
I don't know when this is. That's why I'm asking you.
No, don't speculate.
That's the only time I...
OJ, just
okay.
don't speculate.
No,
What's the only time?
pardon me? The only time I recall them arriving in Cabo that I wasn't there, may have been that time.
April 93, when she came with Faye and the children?
She did come to Cabo once, and she did 1 year in '94, I believe, come to Cabo later than I did. But I don't know. I can't read this, so I can't. If I could read it all, I probably could help you.
Did Nicole used to talk to you about her dreams?
I think she read something, and they told them to write down her dreams, I believe.
You know when that was?
That, in my mind, that was the therapy she went to, that when she came out of, I'm speculating. Yeah,
What
I'm
time frame are you
speculating.
referring to?
Before we got back together is what I'm speculating to, but
The therapy that she was in?
yeah, it seems like the guy told her to write her dreams down or something, or she read it somewhere. I just kind of recall that going on.
Go to the last page of this, or next to last page. It says on the left side, I believe, however, that OJ needs to learn
Next
how...
to the last page?
Yeah,
Where?
right over here.
Uh,
It says, I believe, however, that OJ needs to learn how to take space. Also, he is still very possessive, obsessive, and controlling. Do you agree that you were possessive in your relationship with Nicole?
And you're inserting that means that he was possessive, obsessive with her, right? That's the tone of your question, or the
Yes.
import of your question?
Yes.
Well, I don't think that says that at all.
Were you?
I don't believe so. Not the first two, no.
Were you obsessive with Nicole?
I don't believe so at all.
Controlling?
I think I'm a controlling person, period.
And you were controlling with Nicole too, right?
I think in my life, in my space, I like my space the way I like my space.
My question was whether you were also controlling with Nicole.
No.
What were you controlling generally, but not with Nicole? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think in general that I like my space. I like things the way I like things, and people who come into my life tend to conform to the way I do things.
Did Nicole conform?
Yes. Not the last year we were together, but certainly before she did, yes.
By last year you were together, what do you mean?
The last year we were together, I wouldn't let her move in, so consequently, she had her space to do whatever she wanted to do.
1993 to 94?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you were not obsessive towards her, is that right?
No. Well, I may have been obsessive in that I bought her too many things, but outside of that, I would be the same way with any girl in my life.
Okay. Mother's Day of 1994, Okay. Did you go down to see Nicole without being invited?
No.
You went to Sean's communion on that Saturday,
Yes.
and then Mother's Day was the next day.
Yes.
And did Nicole ask you to come down and join the family?
Yes, we had a date. Had a Saturday night date.
Now that Saturday, Nicole, first of all, you got there really early in the morning, Saturday morning after
Yes.
that incident on the freeway, right?
Yes.
Now on that Saturday, you and Nicole were arguing at her mother's house, right?
No.
Nicole left to go home while you were out getting your car washed, is that right?
No. Nicole went to my place to sleep while I went and bought Mother's Day's gifts for Judy, Denise, Dominique, and Nicole.
And when you got back to the Brown residence, Nicole wasn't there, right?
She was at my place sleep.
And the kids were with the Browns, right?
Yes.
And then you went over to the condo with Nicole, right?
Yeah.
She was there sleeping, right?
Yes.
And you wanted to go out that evening, right?
No, I kind of went back and forth. I took a nap, and then I woke her up at 8 o'clock to go to dinner.
Now, she said she didn't want to go out, right?
No, she got dressed and she got to the door, and then she freaked out.
Didn't you get on the bed while she was lying on it and straddle her
No,
and sort of force her
definitely not.
shoulders down pinned her against the bed?
Definitely not.
Did you have an argument with her on the bed while you were upset because she didn't want to go out?
No. We got to the door, the car was warming up, and she freaked out and said, "Look at me, I'm having a breakdown. I can't do this." And I said, "What's the matter with you?" And we talked. Then she calmed down, and we went to her mother's house to drop off the night stuff for the kids. Then we went to the restaurant and had dinner.
And there was absolutely no incident where you had mounted her or straddled her on the bed?
None.
When you awakened her to go out, was she amenable to going out with you?
Yeah, she got up, took a shower, got dressed.
So everything was all right until you started to leave, and then all of a sudden
And all of a sudden, she just freaked. She was shaking. I mean, I could visibly see that something was wrong.
And you had no idea why that was happening?
Well, it was why I was slowly pulling away, because that's the way she sounded when I was from time to time when I was in Puerto Rico.
Now, the next day, you went to the Browns for Mother's Day, right?
Yes.
Were relations between Nicole and you good that day?
Yeah, that's the strange thing about it. That things were great that day.
There was no tension?
None. That we were laughing. There was some book that Judy had bought for Nicole, and we were all reading it saying, "This is you, Nicole. This is you, Nicole." And it was really a fun day.
Answers questions, OJ.
Okay.
As of May 8, 1994, which is this Mother's Day, did Nicole have a will?
Yes.
When had she made that will?
Just about every time we took a trip, she wrote out what she had, what she was doing, and who she was leaving things with. That started very early in our relationship. Once she started attaining things, I know her attaining things. And I think Lou was trying to get her to sign, because I remember seeing something. Lou was talking to her that day even about because she bought the house, and Nicole had been putting something off and putting it off. And Lou was trying to get her to fill out something for a will. And to my knowledge, Nicole never did, but I'm told that there's a signed will somewhere, but I'm also told that
Never
Nicole
mind,
didn't
never
sign it.
mind.
Okay.
But you're also told what?
Don't answer that. No. That's
You cut him
hearsay.
off in the middle of a sentence.
I sure did cut him off in the middle of it.
Why? He was answering the question.
He was not. He was going well beyond the question.
I'm told that there's a signed will. But I'm also told what? What are you told about this will?
Don't answer that. I'm
Well,
not-
now he's responding to a question,
no,
Mr.
he's not
Baker.
going to answer that question. We're not going to get into that.
Get into what?
We're not going to get into
What is it about this will that you know that you were going to tell me a minute ago?
Don't answer that question. The will is irrelevant to any issue in this case.
Not if Nicole was making out a will because she feared for her life.
Well, you can put whatever spin you want on it, but I'm not going to let him ask that. It's irrelevant.
How many times did Nicole make out a will to your knowledge?
I know, to my knowledge, on numerous occasions when we took trips, she would write stuff down. I know, to my knowledge, once the kids were born, she wrote down a broad thing about who gets what. And I know, to my knowledge, Lou Brown had some papers that he wanted her to sign then.
Well, how many wills do you know that she wrote out?
We call them wills. They were like who would get whatever if the plane crashed or if something happened to us, who would get what. Hers thing is totally separate than mine.
She would write it out in her own handwriting?
I believe so, yes.
And she would do this every time that she took a trip?
No, I think it would like, I remember at one time I asked her, had she upgraded her will at some point, because Nicole had at one point attained a decent wealth, close to $1 million wealth. And I was asking her at one point, had she upgraded her will? And I believe when we were splitting up, she did, again.
Do you know why Nicole took out Arnell and Jason in her will of May 8, 1994?
Well, there's no foundation for that.
Do you know anything about that?
I never knew that they were in her will.
So you don't know why they were taken out?
I never knew that they were ever in any will of, I don't know why they would be in any will of Nicole's, and I was not aware that they were ever in any will of Nicole's.
Did she talk to you about making a will out on that day?
No. Well, no. I just recall her dad was saying, and we were talking, and her dad was saying something, and I felt he wanted her to come and look at some papers, and Nicole just didn't want to do it.
This is a convenient time. We'll
Why
break
don't we
until
start at
9:30.
Why don't we start till 10? Because I can get here at 9:30.
That's fine. Good. I'm here.
This concludes the deposition of Orenthal James Simpson, volume 6. Number of videotapes used was
Do you want?
3.
I think you had
Rear
a copy on that,
record
Arthur.
time is
Ed's
approximately
handling that for me.
4:44.
And maybe in the call.